kind of dive in. So I don't know how much you're working with these kinds of tools, but I'm going to share my screen just to show you. This one, we're talking about various tools that will help you with AI automation. And there are plenty of areas where you can use AI to do that. So it's almost like what doesn't AI potentially automate, right? So it's kind of an interesting topic. So I kind of try to break it into certain areas, and I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully y'all can see that okay. Holler if you can't.
Good.
Every now and then I share the wrong screen. All right. So
Wow.
I'm breaking it down into lead generation, email campaigns, social media management, chat bots. Anybody have anything else they want to cover? Anybody have any ideas?
Add to your list or in
Add to the list.
Okay.
What you want to cover?
Can you scroll up a little bit on the
you bet.
Sorry.
On the email?
On the social media management one, because I think I have one on there that we could add. Yeah, one that we're working with is called Copilot AI.
Copilot.
AI.
Is it .ai or is it just called Copilot AI? Let's see if we can figure out what.
Well, there's a bunch of Copilots. So,
that's true.
CopilotAI.com.
Okay. Not this one.
No, let me get to it. No, it's like, let's see.
This one?
Yeah. Yep. That's it. It's LinkedIn Leads. So it's actually how I found you, John.
Get out. Really?
Yeah, really.
Tell me, hang on a second. Let me make this link work and then. All right. So you went here and you signed up for Copilot and then you found me in there.
Yeah. So what happens is our team, you have to pay for LinkedIn Navigator, Sales Navigator.
Right.
And then my company joined forces here with Copilot. And then you create your own campaign, if you will. And through that, you go through your LinkedIn Navigator to say, I want these states, this territory, these level of people, and you really kind of weed it out to get to what you want. And then it creates, you pre-populate how you want it to look, right? So I made it I think I made it pretty, conversational and not like robotish. And then, so it sends 25 invitations every single day. Because if you do more, you can be in like LinkedIn jail or whatever. So you can only do 25. And then it does it automatically. So every day it sends 25. And then for the people that respond, if they say, if they just accept it, and it goes in the hopper and you can tell it how many minutes or hours or days or whatever you want to follow up with a second message. So my second message is like 3 hours and 12 minutes. Like I have it random, so it doesn't look auto-generated.
Too weird, yeah.
And then it just tells a little bit about what we do, what I do, and just looking in network and connecting with different people. And here's a little bit about what we do. And is that something that might work for you? Cool. And then if they don't respond after that, then I think about 2 weeks later, I have the third message that goes out that just says like, hey, touching base, wanted to see if you had a chance to check out our page, just something very simple. What I've noticed in those three is if somebody responds, like somebody responded, no, thank you, I can do smart reply and it generates like a nice way to tie off the conversation because I can pick from smart reply like 5 things. So then I can say, we'll tie off the conversation nicely for you. It kicks out a response and then goes to my outbox and sends. So It's really intuitive. It's great. I'm getting lots of new connections. As far as actual like business from it, not so much yet. But I also think on LinkedIn, like, people have to like believe in you, believe in your brand, like you before they want to buy from you.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, Bridget,
So,
Bridget, I have a quick question. What is
Sure.
do you know what your response or your connection
Oh,
percent
I
is?
got it all right here. Okay. So my response, okay. So we've been doing this since June 12th. Well, let's say June 19th, but okay, whatever. Just say, yeah, a few weeks. Correct. Connection rate is 44.7%. So I've made 213 connections. I've sent out 476 invites.
That's outstanding.
Sounds like
44% is
power to
outstanding.
me.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The reply rate is really good. It's 30.5%. So out of 213 connections, I have 65 replies. And then, but interest rate is in the red. It's 10.8%. So, and I haven't, like I said, I haven't gotten any deals, knock on wood, yet
right.
from this. So, yeah.
Interesting.
And the guy at the guy who runs this program, did some handholding with us, and he's like, your messages are awesome, but let's see your interest rate if that starts to grow, because we might just need to tweak something for that, from the return investment point of view.
Cool. So is everybody okay if we talk about LinkedIn automation for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Cool. Because I've played with it extensively, and I haven't used this particular tool, but I have used Instantly, and I have used Zopto, if you're familiar with Zopto. Now, I just canned my subscription to Zopto. So just out of curiosity, see what it'll do. Yeah, expired. It can kind of show you, I wonder if it'll hold my, nah. I'm trying to see if it'll at least allow me to access response rates and connection requests. You can kind of see some of them here. These are response rates. Some of these we terminated. Some of these were not about making connection requests. It was just basically announcing something and driving somebody to a URL, so it doesn't count. But it's a pretty interesting tool. The problem I have with it is it's stupid expensive. It's a couple $100 a month. There's another one that we used. Let's see.
John, I think ours is pretty expensive too, because my boss was like, wait, what? Because we have a really small company. And so once we got buy-in, oh yeah, we're totally going to do this. Then the guy does the demo, and he's like, so you have to have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which my boss did not want to pay for before.
Mo money.
And I got suckered into it. I think he said something like it's $500 a month for 5 of us.
Yeah.
But then he also has to pay for LinkedIn too. So
it gets pricey. I mean, all of them you have to pay for LinkedIn. So that's kind of a price of admission. But I was looking at Dripify. I don't know whether any of y'all have played around with Dripify, but it's pretty inexpensive comparatively. If I were to go back over here, let's go into billing just so you can see. Yeah, look at this, $215 a month or $172 a month. It's really, really expensive. Dripify was pretty inexpensive. I'm trying to think what else we've used. Have you used Apollo? Apollo is more for generating leads. I don't know whether they allow you to connect with people or not, but they have a team version. But you basically tap into it if you want to extract leads. It ties into LinkedIn. I found that there's some overlap and not overlap, meaning that I could go into some tools to extract data straight out of LinkedIn, and then I could try to find them on Apollo, and they're not on Apollo. Right, Kevin, you're shaking your head like that's happened to you too. Yeah. Okay.
And one tricky thing about that is
we've been using Zoom Info for like 2 years. At the beginning, it was for our HR team, and then we started using it for marketing team because they have different products there. One thing I noticed is that because, for example, with Zoom Info, because we use it in marketing, we use it for advertising purposes, right? Like you need to advertise on Zoom Info platform, which being said, you're advertising on that platform and they're purchasing through Facebook and different kind of platforms. It's very tricky because like you don't know like what how much they're charging and how much they're charging you, and you don't know exactly like what's going on behind. It's kind of like there's a gray area behind this kind of things, which is very interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It definitely is. And I've always tried to figure out who's got the database originally, because everybody else is taking it and marking it up. And, there are lots of tools out there to try to synchronize those things. I haven't figured out who's the winner. Have you?
Have you tried Cello AI, SCLOAI.com?
Cello?
SCLOAI.com. So this one, I had a demo with them, but I don't know for what reason they kind of like grayed out, like they just never get back to me. So when I was having the first demo with them, they give you certain level of information directly, which is exactly what you said earlier, John, is that you don't really need to commit to anything. They charge you based on the amount of leads that you get from the AI bot, and they give you certain, of course, they don't give you the full information there. Like, you won't have like all of the phone numbers, etc. But they give you the name, the certain contact information, what they do, their business, etc. in an Excel sheet. And you just pay for what you get based on each lead that you have.
That's an interesting model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you happy with the results for the stuff that you're getting out of it?
And here's the thing, like we had a demo with them and we had a trial with them, but then I reached out them like, I think we are very interested in this platform and we want to talk about, like how to set up account or whatever. They never got back to me. So that's why I found it's very, I don't know for what reason, but never got back to me.
So Cello
hey, Kevin,
doesn't
I
know
have
much
a
about
I have
sales.
a question on that, Kevin, just so I could understand. So if you engage with them and you engage their services, and is the whole point that they're taking unknown hits to your website and making them known and B2B?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty powerful, because I know B2C we can do that.
Exactly.
But B2B, wow.
Yeah, so when we're doing the test, we give them our LinkedIn profile. Sorry, not LinkedIn, our Instagram account profile. We give them specific post. We say we want to kind of understand who are potentially the audience who interact with this content specifically. We just give them the link and they give us like a list of the accounts out there. And from when we're doing our internal validation, because there's a process of validating this kind of accuracy, it's fairly accurate. I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate for sure, but it's fairly accurate because a lot of them we saw that they're already our clients. Some of them they are from our competitors, etc. They're fairly accurate. That's what I find, but I don't know for what reason they just never got back to me.
Wow.
Hey, Kevin, there's another one that's contacted me and you might be interested in. It's simplyintel.com, and they it sounds like they do these roughly the same thing. But they came to my site, and contacted me through my form on my site. And of course, the first thing I did, she didn't identify what she wanted. I went to their site. Well, now they know that I've been to their site because that's what they do. So I responded to her and their rep, and so I may do a demo. I haven't decided yet.
Very interesting.
Yeah, the thing that is messing with me, and I was just talking to our team this morning, that trying to actually establish LinkedIn connections at scale is really tricky because it's so inaccurate. I get so many connection requests where they pull out something that they think is what I do, and it's not. Like I got one this morning, and it said that they were trying to connect with SaaS companies, and I love what you're doing. You're crushing it. Like we're a SaaS company. I'm like, dude, we're not a SaaS company.
That's pretty boilerplate anyway. You're crushing it, John.
Yeah.
Come
I
on.
know, but it was so clearly boilerplate copy that it was really frustrating. And the other thing was, I want to show you something.
But John,
Where
at one
was it?
point you were kind of a platform company though, right? I mean, that a lot of
Well,
your
no.
history was it.
Well, yeah. Decades ago, we had a
Well,
SaaS
yeah, but I mean,
operation.
that's what I'm thinking. I mean, it just may be that they're, the way they go
Old
back and
data.
review those things is old data because because you
Yeah.
were that way, but that was a long time ago. So
That's true. That was a long time ago. So, but this tool is kind of interesting, and I'm sure you've gotten connection requests or emails with Line. So what Line does is you basically put this in there like you would any other variable. You connect it to whatever your account would be, and you would throw that in there as a variable. And what it does is it looks up your contact, tries to find something that would be an icebreaker, and that would be your initial sentence. And you've probably gotten them. I'm starting to get irritated by them because they say, kind of, at least for me, the same thing. I see you went to LSU, go Tigers. I'm like, oh, okay, you're using Line, but it was interesting. Now, here's the thing I can tell you is that some people go, oh man, this is awesome. I see you check me out. And so it strokes their ego a little bit. And they're like, okay, cool. So it works a pretty significant portion of the time. But I've had some people just tee off on us in using Instantly. And one of them, with three of them in particular, went to different schools, and they railed on us for buying the email list from the school. And I was like, dude, you put your alma mater on LinkedIn. It has nothing to do with your school. But so it's kind of interesting, but I don't know. Has anybody used Line before?
I don't know, John, but it comes back to your point that writing and copywriting skills by a real human are really, really, really what's needed. I mean, look at our conversations we've had so far with this dumb stuff. You're crushing it. Oh, go Tigers, all that.
Right.
This is inane. This is stupid stuff. And I'm just saying, back to your point, John, that you've made repeatedly in the past weeks, which is great, that's why they hire humans like you and the other folks to write.
Try to ferret it out. Yeah. And I mean, the thing that I'm trying to figure out, maybe one of y'all have solved this problem. I haven't solved it yet, but it is, how do we legitimately reach to prospects with authenticity at some level of scale, where somebody goes in and goes, oh yeah, this guy is definitely in marketing for X company, and here's something that they've published, and we can actually have a conversation with that as an icebreaker, because every time I've ever bought a list, and when, you've heard me talk about this before, I bought lists, we go after the list, and the next thing you know, I'm sending out emails just like that other guy who said, oh, you're in the SaaS space, you're crushing it. I'm sending, I think I told you all before in an earlier one, where we were trying to send messages to people in the sleep medicine space, and we were sending messages to hospice organizations. And one replied back and said, we're kind of in end of life care, not sleep management. So that was really embarrassing.
Well, it's the long sleep, John. You're right up their alley.
That's the final rest, the final destination. Yeah, maybe. But if anybody's cracked that nut, I'd love to know. I know that you could probably hire some people in the Philippines and other areas to do it, but I still worry about them using tools instead of using their own labor, to actually do it. But I don't know. I'm thinking almost of pulling it back a notch from that level and doing our own personal inspection for lists. How about you guys?
I think in the end, what matters here is about what the prospects can get from a conversation, right? Like in the end, it's like what value. Because for example, if for this roundtable, for example, what I like about it is when I saw this from, I think from one of the Academy platform, and then I saw like John, you had a post there, and I was like, this is very interesting. It's because like this has something to do with what I do in my daily life. And, like, I want to learn from everyone. I want to have a discussion with everyone. I find it's beneficial for me. So I joined this. I think it's very similar logic. In the end, it's like, it's about the way you talk to people, definitely, but at the same time, what you can give them, right? Like what they can get from a potential conversation with you. As long as they find it beneficial for them, they would, why wouldn't they, like, get in touch with you?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. I put these on because I just am kind of passionate about AI, and I like to have discussions around it. And I like what's happened today. People are saying, hey, have you seen this tool? Have you seen that tool? I certainly don't have a license on all the knowledge in AI. And so it's fun to learn more, right? So that's cool. Speaking of which, Jillian, I see you're on. How's the launch coming? I'm curious. If you can unmute, maybe I caught you off guard.
Thank you for asking. Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just sitting over here listening and multitasking. It's going well. Thank you. We're going up to Dallas to go discuss it next week. And so far we have all thumbs up, but we just launched the Spanish iteration of it. Isn't AI amazing that everything we do overnight, now it's fully Spanish and not Portuguese, Lebanese, Vietnamese. I mean, it's just incredible.
Some kind of knees. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Excellent, and Mandarin. Excellent. So
Mandarin too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm really excited. Today we're doing some more testing and turning it on. So thank you very much. And for anybody who's interested in just playing around with the chatbot, happy to give you the URL. I can put it in the chat here.
Yeah, do.
We're looking at all live on it.
That would be great, because that's one of the topics that we'll be covering extensively. And by the way, this I'm going to share the screen one more time, and we're going to be turning this into a post. So in the event you guys want access to this list, and we're going to be adding to it based on this call, but there's tons of resources here, and you can actually Google this and find stuff. You can use tools inside of ChatGPT to find stuff. But the thing that I've noticed, and we probably talked about that last week, when you use one of the AI finder tools inside of ChatGPT, they're all affiliate links. So it's not really the cleanest source, but it does give you a lot of ideas. That's why I like having conversations like this, so I can stumble upon other kind of tools that are out there. But in terms of chatbots, the thing that I was looking at, and Jillian, I think I was talking about this last time, and I couldn't think of the name. It was this tool. Are y'all familiar with this one?
Live person, yes, a bit. And so many of these tools. Did you
play around with it at all?
We didn't play around with that one, no, I don't believe, but we did take a demo of theirs, and it's very reputable. It's used by so many people worldwide, but it's exceptional at the agent side. And so what we're finding is when it comes to chatbots, there's a front end that's really good for patients in our case, and then there's a back end that's really good for agents, and they're not necessarily the same company. And so that's actually one of our struggles right now is, should we go back and look at live person? Should we look at intercom? Right now, I'm actually talking with Quick about their QUIQ. I don't know if you've looked at them, but they just became HIPAA compliant. And so we're looking at them for an agency backend. But that's where a lot of the AI becomes very hands-on, as you can see an agent not having to spend 3 minutes writing an answer because the machine will do it for them in half the time or a fraction of the time to give them a basis of what to respond.
Yeah.
Hey, Jillian, do you recall what the price of live person was?
I don't, but let me just look through my notes
pricing.
and see if,
I think they want you to have a demo first before they tell you.
Exactly.
As I recall, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think,
honestly,
one of the things.
One of the things that we're up against, you may be experiencing this as well, is some of the prices that I'm seeing, John, on yours are $15 a month or $500 a month or $150 a month. Well, ours is starting at $1,000 a month, and so the difficulty, right? So look at your reaction.
I love your margins. That's great.
But unfortunately, we don't have that big of a margin. And so the difficulty is trying to demonstrate and make some of these AI tools that are coming out, ours still look that much better for the value of it. And so anyway, that's what I'm up against, is some of the really inexpensive ones that are coming out, making sure that we still do hold value.
Yeah. So
I'm
that
excited for your
boils
list.
down. Yeah. So that really boils down to you being able to articulate what we would call a market dominating position, right?
Exactly.
So you have to make it really clear in one sentence or maximum two how you're worth $1,000 when the competition is charging 150, right? That's And it shouldn't be too terribly difficult in the medical space because of HIPAA compliance and a lot of other stuff. You have the wrong conversation with somebody in that space and you have issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would
That's so
love to know, but you're also really niche focused around ophthalmology, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's correct. And so if I were to just give you the short pitch, maybe this will make sense. There are a lot of AI chatbots out there now that go and scrape a website and produce what their version is. Pardon the dog in the background. What ours does is that plus a whole lot of intelligent layer on top of it, which is customized for the ophthalmology industry with their constraints, as well as APIs on the back end. And so that's what a $15 bot, $150 bot will never give you, is the access to a back-end API in a secure environment.
Yeah.
So that's way more than two
perfect.
sentences. But
No, but to me, what you have is a highly scalable model because it's so niche, right? And for somebody to try to take, something like a ChatGPT or something like that, and give it all the knowledge around ophthalmology that you've already put in there, that would take them a whole lot more than $1,000 a month, right? And it's like we were having a discussion the other day about trying to use your own team members to do stuff because maybe you pay them $50, $60, $70,000 a year, and in the math you're doing, okay, well that's $50 an hour versus paying somebody else $250 an hour. But the problem is that $50 an hour worker is supposed to be generating you $250 an hour in revenue. So you take them off the bench and you're, losing money, right? So there's a cost equation to what you're providing that many people don't really understand what that actually is. And then there's a cost to losing a customer because the conversation went the wrong way through a bot. There's a whole lot to your value proposition. And I'm curious, as you start to scale with this, of course, it's just launched, right? But as you start to scale with it, do you think your company would have plans to move into other verticals in the medical space?
possibly, but they are so different. So what you'll see in these two links, and just to clarify, these are just prototypes. And so it's not out in the marketplace yet. It's not production worthy. So if you schedule an appointment, don't worry, it's not connecting to anybody's back end.
They're not going to charge me for not showing up, right?
Not taking a credit card or anything.
Right.
Yeah. And so let's see, where was I going with that? For the scalability and whether or not we're going to go into other verticals, I have experience in one or two other verticals, particularly cosmetic surgery. And the aesthetic market today is so overwhelmed with choices that I would say it's actually more complex than what we're trying to do here with LASIK and cataract, which have a variety, but a finite amount of options.
Okay.
And so it might be more of a database effort than what we've currently taken on.
Yeah, but one thing, just as a consumer, I can see is that's where the margins are on their end. Those guys are fat, real fat. They are minting money. So anyway, that's off subject because you're in ophthalmology now. But how big is your universe? I'm just curious. How many practices US are there? How many prospects are there in the universe in the US
7,
for your service? 1,000?
7,000.
7,000?
Yeah.
That's not bad. I mean, I used to be in like the credit union vertical and I had 10,000, so I was just curious about how big that base was to go to. And, that's certainly big enough to dominate and kick kick the competitors.
Right. Even 5% would be fantastic at this point. There are some benefits that I haven't spoken about here yet, by way of us being able to collect data for the industry. And that's where I think that there can be some additional revenue models once we start being able to see on the back end and really silo out what's going on in the industry.
Or
and
hooking up with their
data.
hooking up with their association and doing a deal.
Precisely.
That could be another thing.
Yep. So different revenue opportunities just by being one of the first to start collecting and aggregating information.
Cool.
I don't know about anybody else,
Great
but
question,
the link isn't pulling for me, so I'm wondering if it's locked down by an IP address. That may be an issue.
Interesting. Has anybody else? Sorry, so many flies in Texas right now. It's a real problem, even indoors. Is anybody else having a problem? If you click on the little blue in the bottom right on the desktop.
Yeah, that's what I think you have to do that, John. You have to click on the bottom right to actually.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even looking down there. I was just like, I got a big white screen. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. So any feedback, good, bad, indifferent, too whimsical. I've been playing with the prompts a lot this week, so I'm not considering myself a prompt engineer by any means, but I've been trying to really alter the personality of it and make it a lot more friendly. And so now she's occasionally dropping in emojis and things like that.
This is actually pretty clever.
It's smooth. I almost booked an eye appointment.
Sure, please go ahead. You'll see that it does email out, so it's not texting until we go live, but it will email you a nice for the one pilot client.
I really
this
like
is a clever. Yeah, this is a clever little UX. I haven't seen the pictures done yet. I've seen the little bubbles and stuff that you can click on. So that's kind of neat. If I just jump into cataracts. Okay, cool. I like the fact that you got some faux dots here that I'd probably give it a little bit more. I don't know.
I love John is going straight to cataracts and I'm going for cosmetic and
well, there is that age difference, so
I'm looking at like, oh, she doesn't have any wrinkles on the other side of her. So this is a before, this is an after.
Cosmetics is a big space. There's a lot of interest, like 50, probably 1% of the pop, I think, is probably interested.
Paul, last year, if you ever want to discuss that, I was in a startup for a cosmetic EHR. Anyway, I can't think of the right terms. But anyway, it's very interesting to see the combination and the conflation of the cosmetics industry with SaaS. And if you get the two together, it's just like this exploding opportunity. And so you're absolutely right. It's just, I'm a little tainted.
And the money. I mean, I could just love to think about doing a little market study on those customers, what their net worths are, what their husbands do. And I'm not being sexist or anything. I'm just saying that there's a lot of demand for that service.
I worked Proteon and Fields for years, 11 years selling skincare. And it's amazing when you have that, warm market that you're selling to, where your friends are like, okay, order it for me, but not till Friday. That's when my husband gets paid. Or they're like, they want it so bad that they're like, and these are people that you would think, like drive the fancy cars and everything like that, but they're really just mortgaged to their eyeballs. But they're like, I can't do it till Friday, but you better give it me on Friday. I'm like, okay. But it's interesting how people really sacrifice other things, or like, well, we don't need to eat meat this week, but I need my skincare, So.
No, remove wrinkles today. I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a wrinkle remover today.
Right.
It is somewhat recession proof. It's called the lipstick index.
This is
there you go.
John, we're talking about, it's all about the market. Market leads everything. Am I right? If you're
Yeah.
fishing in the right pool, it is bueno. If you're
Mhm.
not in the right pool, I don't care what kind of gimmick or what kind of AI you have or whatnot. It's market, market, market first. That's why I just love this conversation. It's about markets, especially verticals. When you know your vertical and you own your vertical, and it's deep enough. And I like deep enough versus kind of wide enough because everybody's in. But if it's a deep enough vertical and you own it, it's a good thing. I'm selling homes across the United States with a postcard. It's really groovy. I can't believe it, but it's all about market. And that's all I think about all day long is market. Sorry.
Yeah, market and message. I tend to think about message. Kevin, go ahead. You had a comment.
I have a very open question for Jalen because I was looking at it and I was playing with the chatbot a little bit, and I recently did LASIK surgery, by the way. So and it made me start thinking, because I'm very curious. Once you guys have this kind of chatbot, like what are you gonna do with the traditional channel? So because, for example, at LASIK before, like a lot of local places that here, what they do is they do a lot of more traditional side of, like they just let you fill out a form and you book an appointment and you get, like you do all of the consultation during the session. So once you guys have this kind of automated chatbot, what are you going to do with the traditional side of the, kind of form fill, those kind of, channel acquisition?
It's a great question. And I just posed that to the client yesterday. We really need to consolidate them all into the chatbot, because the chatbot becomes the mobile experience now. And so cost of website development goes way down because you're no longer in charge of web forms, online booking. None of that is now in the hands of the web developers. It's all within the chatbot because it's already integrated with their backend systems. And so excellent question, but it would actually cause more problems if we maintained that form plus this one, because then they're not filtering into the agents as cleanly on the back end, so that they can't prioritize the incoming requests.
Jill, that's great, because you just answered one of the cost questions or cost objections against the other guys. Oh, no. Look at your web costs that go down.
Absolutely.
Because we're integrated. That's a big deal, because the guy that's asking about cost or worried about cost is worried about cost. And that's a huge advantage for you.
Yes, our whole value proposition is replacing costs. And so there's one of them we're talking about Monday, that's $18,000 a month. So if I come in even with usage on this particular client at $5,000 a month, that's an easy no-brainer to displace an $18,000 plus other systems. So you're absolutely right.
Wow,
cool.
That's interesting.
That's
Are you for a
biggest
period
proposal.
of time? Are you for a period of time going to have some metrics on both to see how rapid the adoption to the chat is and how quickly the forms stop being used?
It's a good question. I think that it should just be a matter of weeks, in my opinion, because the conversion rate of the website, yes, can be isolated and measured within Google Analytics, say, for example. And then you can see the conversion of the bot. And as soon as you start getting active users on the bot that are converting at a higher rate, which should be at least 2x that of a normal visitor, then it's a no-brainer. Turn off everything on the website, turn on the bot, turn on the bot's more pages. And once the bot starts being intelligent, recognizing that Kevin's on there looking at LASIK and alternatives, it talks to him about LASIK versus the page that you and I might be on talking about cataracts. Then it's prompting in real time, in the moment of the headspace of the user, and suddenly you've got them captured. And so the capture rate and the bounce rate, all of these figures will just be exceptionally better with the bot than without the bot.
So question for you and for everybody, I'm sure are familiar with high level, and high levels bot is basically a text base. So you have to roll to SMS. I'm curious if, from your own experience, have you ever tried just a pure SMS bot, or is it, I have my own personal opinion, but I'm curious what everybody else thinks. An SMS bot versus an online bot like what you've deployed.
I'll see anybody else's opinions first. I know the cost back end as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, but does anybody else have an opinion from a usability standpoint?
My personal opinion, and this doesn't make it right, is that I personally would prefer to go straight with an online bot because I'm not ready to give them my cell phone. And it's kind of like the way the web has migrated people from sales. You know, it used to be people would just call you up and ask a bunch of questions, but there's still that salesperson tension that I call it, right? I don't really want to have a conversation with the salesperson. I just want some information, you know, because there's a fear of a salesperson. Then the web comes along and people's phones stopped ringing because they would just go to the website, get enough information until they're ready to have a conversation with a salesperson. Now you enter in this stage of web forms. Well, web forms means I got to give them an email address and they got to reply. And now they're closer to having a conversation. I'm not really ready for that. You go to an SMS bot versus an online bot. I'm concerned that maybe, I see you, Andy. I'm concerned that that level of salesperson tension just elevated by saying, give us your cell phone. And then we'll text you. What do y'all think? Is it just me?
You're exactly right. And that is a personal factor that becomes a barrier for completing the conversation. And so we don't want to do that. If they can remain anonymous as long as possible, what you'll find in today's version, had you looked at this a week ago, we actually reversed. We actually show them when they can get an appointment now, before we ever ask them their name. And that's because we're serving them and their needs. Are they going to be able to get something in a timely fashion that accommodates their schedule and the place that's convenient before we ever get into that personal information that they're not willing to give up? So it's for that same anonymity that we have gone with the web much more than SMS. And also the fact that from a cost perspective, the bot can do things a lot faster and cheaper than the processing on the SMS. And a third thing is that SMS is not HIPAA compliant. WhatsApp is,
yeah.
but SMS is not.
I never thought about that part of it.
Yeah.
That's
I'd say as a
interesting.
consumer, I'll sign up for SMS text so I can get like 10% off my first order or something like that. And I don't really like using SMS because then like I pick up my phone to look at text messages for like family and friends, right? It sort of goes into the, like right now, Dormify, my daughter's going to school. So I get Dormify because I wanted the 10% off coupon. And now it's like one more thing that I have to go in and manage and get those out of my text. So for me, I like what you were saying, John and Jillian, about people coming in and having like more, you know, it's more like crossing the line kind of, so to speak, on the SMS. But for me also, if I'm going to research something, I also like to have I like it on my computer. I don't like it on my phone. So there's like little nuances that I enjoy with having it on a computer as well, if that makes sense. Just personal.
Yeah.
I have a different perspective that I can share as well, because we've been using SMS for the whole period when I was working at Tech-A-Block. Like we've been using SMS. We used Twilio before. We've used what else? We've used the Alloware as well, like as two major platforms, and we spend almost I would say $15,000 per year on SMS messages. One thing we noticed is that, and we did research about it because we found out that SMS channel, the conversion is way better than email. It's like way better than email. And we were looking at why, and one of the assumptions, we don't know if it's true or not true, but it's from our experience, we realized that because SMS channel, it's still not as widely used as email channel. So right now, a lot of customers potentially they get fed up, with emails, and sometimes they just had a glance at it, not interested and they skip it. But they still don't, are not at a very detailed level at the SMS. They don't get, you don't get a lot of, let's say 20 or 30, SMS every day, from different vendors, which can be a kind of like, like for the marketers can be a good thing at this point, but what's going to happen within 3 to 5 years, you don't know. So this is just like, like kind of perspective to share. But I find it's like, yeah, right now, SMS, it can be a very interesting platform because it works, but what's going to happen, in a few years that's kind of the question there, to be answered.
Yeah. No, you nailed it, because the emails, a lot of times people will give you their bogus email, right? Their Gmail address, because it's cluttered with spam. An SMS goes right to your hand, which is why it's more accurate. The question though is the friction point. It also is going to ferret out people who say, like, I don't want to do it. So if you're really, really interested, you're going to give them the cell phone. So I'm wondering, Jillian, does yours allow somebody to go from the web to SMS, or what's your conversion process? In other words, you just book an appointment? Is that kind of main thing? Whoops, did we lose her?
Looks like she lost.
She's back.
There's no
Her
light.
dog must have gotten after her. No, I don't know. Well, anyway, do y'all have any thoughts on that? Or Kevin, have you even tried that, where you have a non-SMS based chatbot that then moves into SMS? I've seen that.
So we
before.
did a lot of A/B testing in the past, like a lot of A/B testing. So what we do is, like when we have showcase events, what we do is we separate, the audience list, and we do one that's non-SMS version, another one that's SMS version. That's where we got the results that with SMS, it actually performs way, way, way better. And mostly because, like it goes directly to their hand and they just take a look, and we give the link as well. So like we try to minimize the customer experience during the channel as well. Like we just like one-stop shop, like, like the moment you get the link, you can register, you can do whatever, like you want, like take action directly. So with that format, it works really well. But John, while you were talking, also like one thing that I started thinking a lot is also the privacy part of it as well. So I think this could be another like potentially hot topic there. I know most of the people in this roundtable are based in the United States, but I don't know how the privacy policy works. But recently in Quebec, actually last September, they launched like kind of a local privacy policy in Quebec, which is very similar to GDPR, but a little bit more granular. And a lot of businesses, they had to do a lot of adaptation to.
Really?
Yeah, so it was like a very crazy game in Quebec province, like since last September and this September. So in 2 months, every single business is like all of the platforms you use, you need to make sure it is, we call it Bill 25. You need to make sure it's Bill 25, qualified. So we have, worked with a lot of, like we work with HubSpot, we work with different kind of, companies to get these things in place, because we need to make sure the platform we use are Bill 25 qualified. It's like, the GDPR qualified as well. So it's another thing, like with the SMS, it really works, but we're also trying to minimize the usage of it as well because of this privacy issue, because you don't want to get fined for $25 million on that. So
right, on a 12-cent call.
That's
no, that's wild. I wasn't familiar with that. It's called Bill 25.
It's called Bill 25.
All right. Well, I'll have to do some research on that. I mean, GDPR is enough to wrestle with, and I know that the U.S. has various bills that are circulating to try to emulate that, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Anybody else wrestle one with that, or is it just Kevin? No. All right. Well, it's a new one for me, so I'll have to go dig into that, and I appreciate that. So interesting. Meanwhile, Bridget, what else are you doing on the marketing front? Are you doing anything like with email, or is it really just kind of the LinkedIn stuff? Tell me how you're trying to build your audience.
Well, I think the LinkedIn, this Copilot thing for me has been like so great, because it has, I mean, I wanted to bang my head against the wall last year because I was just typing so many messages, sending so many messages out to, C-level people. And then it was interesting because then when I was talking with someone from the baseball team, And he's like, oh yeah, sometimes I don't get those messages because, you know, my admin goes and cleans them all up. I'm like, what? I had no concept of that. I'm like, I need that. So it's like, I realize like they're never going to see these messages. So I'm just sitting here, sending messages going, this is so stupid, you know, like spending an hour to 2 hours a day going like, no one's going to respond. And then I'd be so excited if like my inbox dings. I'm like, oh. And then it's like, they're no longer here, or,
right.
or like,
they're trying to sell me something. Right? Yeah.
That's really sad when that's the highlight of my day. So, yeah, this has been a lot more user friendly. I mean, there are some people on here that, you know, just as a woman, I am getting some weirdos, but you know, like random conversation things. I'm like, I didn't really want to talk to you about weird stuff, but for the most part, it's pretty good. But other than that, that's all we're doing, really.
Well, not to let you feel alone because you're a woman. As a man, I get connection requests all the time on LinkedIn from some fabulous babe who says, hi, you look like you're interesting. I'd like to connect with you. And you know it's BS. Kevin, you're laughing. You've gotten them too, right? It's just, it drives me crazy. I'm like,
John, it's your profile picture, dude. I mean, you're a magnet.
That's right. They're thinking,
I was thinking of hitting on you, you know,
guy, right?
And just wait till the cataract surgery happens.
There you go. That's going to get out there.
You have like 400 LinkedIn connections overnight.
No, John, that's a really good point. I just don't understand it. I don't understand that and stupid emails and stuff like that. I mean, is there any kind of, I guess there has to be some kind of response rate, however minuscule, I guess,
look, if you're,
to this
if
kind
you're
of stuff.
A crook and you're trying to scam people, it's all a numbers game, right? And that's the deal. But I tell you what, though, now that y'all have been ragging me about cataract surgery, I guarantee you I'm going to get retargeted, and I've never even Googled it in my life.
Absolutely.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Oh, shoot. Well, I'm trying. There was a tool that I was going to share with you guys, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It had to do with email. Oh, there were several things. Kevin touched on it. Zoom info, really good way to verify and get more info on your really legit contacts. So that's good. There's another one called Woodpecker. Are you familiar with Woodpecker? Okay, so Woodpecker is another one for analyzing your emails and making sure they're legit. So there's several tools out there that'll do that. The thing that I'll tell you, and you've heard me say this before, the critical thing starts with the list. Then it starts with the message, right? You know, they've got to say, yeah, this is a problem I want solved, and then it's going to be whatever your offer is for them to take some sort of an action. And you know, I guess it depends on how aggressive you want to be with those things. But what I've tried to do myself is kind of pull it back a notch, and I'm trying to just add value, right? I want to make a connection, and I want to give them some information that maybe would resonate with them. And if they like it, you know, maybe after a while I'll say, hey, maybe we should have a conversation if this is of interest to you. So it's kind of the Gary V approach, right? But it's a long game to do something like that. Have you guys had any experience with something like that? Looks like Jillian had to drop.
She sent me Jillian sent me a message, and she said her internet was up and down and power on and off. So they've got storms, I guess, going on there.
That's too bad. Are you doing anything, Bridget? What business specifically are you in? Refresh our memories.
Oh, so we're a small managed service provider. So we do all things like cloud and migrations, and you know, help people who, you know, can't do it all. And
where are you?
So I'm in North Carolina, but our company is all over. We don't have a brick and mortar. But there's only like 25 of us. So it's interesting working for such a small company because, you know, this budget thing happens all the time. Like, what is the budget?
Right.
This budget's
Right.
cramped my style. What do you mean I can't take someone to lunch? I have to ask? What? McDonald's, like, or Panera? I can't go to, like, you know, the steakhouse. It's different. It's definitely not the same as pharmaceutical days when Johnson.
No, it's not.
It's
A little
just
different budget.
a wee bit
Right.
different. It's very humbling. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Bob, who was on the line earlier, he's works for a big MSP in the area. So there's a lot there. So are you
We
on the
just-
sales side or the marketing side?
I'm on the sales side. So
Okay.
we have a small marketing person, basically, like, and anytime I send a request, like, can we do more of this? How about that? It doesn't really happen. So I feel like I just have to go after anything
You're aggressive.
Yeah.
You roll up your sleeves and you do what has to be done.
Ooh,
I
right.
see that. I know. I
Right.
know. It's a good
Right.
thing.
I've realized, like, if I sit here and send emails all day, I'm going to shoot myself in the face and I'm not going to be very happy. So I
No,
have
you
to-
figured out a way to make that automated. I mean, kudos to you. That's what I'm struggling with. I mean, this is why I listen here. I'm amazed with all you folks. And you had a real problem that I know I have, and you figured it out with some tools and applying them. So kudos to you.
Well, the other thing
John,
is, sorry.
I was going to say, John's been rather quiet over there. I know you're probably doing work at the same time. I'm just curious though, how are you guys structured? Sales and marketing separate, or sales and marketing one?
It's really funny. We're a 7-person organization. So yeah, the broom's in the corner as well. I sweep floors as well. So
Excellent. I thought y'all were bigger than that. I thought you're like in the 20s.
to be absolutely honest with you, we're a tiny little engineering services company, and our marketing is my phone rings. I've been doing it for 22 years, 23 years. So that really is, it's all inbound. We do zero marketing. Our website's terrible. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, but if what you're doing works and that's as good as you want to get, that's perfect, right?
No, there's always room for improvement. It's just matter of step by step. Right.
Yeah. Kevin, how about you? You were on the sales side, the marketing side, or tech side?
It's very funny because for my whole career I've been always on the marketing side, but I always believe that marketing and sales they should be working together. And I would say a little bit unfortunate. Most of the big businesses that I worked with, they're always separate and they're always having fights all the time. You just like marketing say we should do this kind of thing, and sales like, no, this doesn't remind you. What the hell are you talking about? Don't do that. And sometimes, and which is why my current position at Teco is very interesting, because it's digital marketing, but in reality, to really experience in a simple way, we're half marketing, half IT, with a little bit sales. So we're kind of like mixed together. And the reason why we exist in this business is because we need to find a balanced point towards different departments to make sure that we can bring everyone together and to achieve the coherent goal that we want to achieve, which is in the end to help business to grow sales, right? So yeah, I'm always like a big believer that the business, marketing and sales, they should be collaborating together. It's like marketing, yes, you can be creative, but in the end, we're talking about revenue numbers here, right?
That's
So
exactly right.
So
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is episode 9. I had originally scheduled to do 10 of these. I'm debating whether or not to just keep them going, move them to a different day. Create new topics. Do y'all have any thoughts on that?
Keep it up if you will. I mean, keep it up if you can and are willing.
Is Friday a bad day for everybody, or is this kind of a great way to end the week, a bad way to end the week? What do you think?
definitely a good way, I would say.
Yeah,
It's a good way. Yeah.
I was really looking forward to it today. When I woke up, I was like, oh yeah, cool. Except for I hopped on an hour early. So I wasn't looking forward to it that much. I just got the time wrong.
You were in the queue an hour early.
Well,
That's
she's an Eastie.
impressive.
She's on the
was.
East Coast.
I
You know,
know.
she's ahead of it. She's
So
ahead
I
of the
saw
game.
10:30 and I was like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll come back in an
Yeah.
hour. No one's on to talk to me yet. But if anyone
Right.
wants to join extra early, no, just kidding. Maybe
Well,
if-
are there any specific topics that would be really helpful for you? And of course, I'm on the marketing side, but I'm, you know, John knows I'm sales and marketing, right? So I feel strongly that marketing is the new sales, and if you have an old school marketer, then you're going to lose. You need to refresh, right? Because you can't, everything you do in marketing these days has to be pointing towards a conversion that a salesperson hopefully will take and convert, or it's just going to convert, right? So I'm trying to figure out what, you know, of course I'm integrating AI into everything we do for our clients on the marketing side to help them accelerate. I feel like if you're not looking at AI right now in all aspects of marketing or business, you're going to lose. And I mean quickly, right? Because the competition who is embracing AI are able to move so much faster. I'll give you one example and I'll sign off. But we have been producing these analyses, whatever you want to call them, for clients, where we will go through 12 areas of impact that we know if you just change this one thing, it'll really have big differences in your revenue growth. And so we go through all those 12 areas, but using ChatGPT, I can quickly assemble this analysis. I look at its ideas and stuff and I go, and I'll tweak it, but it allows me to do what would typically take me 3 weeks. I can compress it into probably 3 days, which then allows me to help more people and go a lot faster. So
John, can
anyway.
we table that one on, can
Yeah.
we talk about that one next week? I have to hop on another call, but that I definitely want to talk about more of that.
Okay.
next week.
Articulate that. Tell me what you mean by that, and I'll branch that out.
Give him a prompt.
Well,
Yeah,
for
give me a
example, okay, that's cute. Okay, so I've got an engineer on the team who's like, you have to talk to ChatGPT versus type. He thinks if you type it in, it doesn't like you as much. You're not as personable, things like that. I find ChatGPT really helpful for me for writing SOWs for statement of work for other companies. And I'm not copying them, I'm tweaking them. But I mean, I wouldn't even know where to go for some of these things, you know, like anyway, I'm 3 minutes late to a sales call that I have to hop on.
Right.
But I would
We're 3
love to
minutes
chat a
past,
little
yeah.
bit more about, even though we did last week a little bit, but I'd love to talk a little
No
more. about
sweat. Yep, we'll explore that next week. All
Sorry.
right, gang. Well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you
Y'all
very
have a
much.
great weekend. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Bye.
Bye-bye.